There is a persistent dream that has haunted inventors for nearly a millennium. The idea of a machine that once started never stops. We call it a perpetual motion machine. The appeal is easy to understand. If we could build a device that outputs more energy than it consumes, we would effectively have free energy. This promise of an infinite power source has led to thousands of patents, elaborate scans, and a few genuine attempts by brilliant minds. But as we look closer at the fundamental structure of our universe, we find that nature has a very strict set of bookkeeping rules that make this dream impossible. One of the earliest recorded designs dates back to the 12th century, proposed by the mathematician Bhaskara the Learned. His wheel featured spokes partially filled with mercury. The idea was that as the wheel turned, the heavy liquid would flow to the outer edge on one side, creating an imbalance that would keep the wheel spinning forever. It is an elegant concept, but it fails in practice. The energy gained by the falling liquid on one side is exactly cancelled out by the energy required to lift that same liquid back up on the other side. The wheel eventually settles into a quiet, stationary balance. This brings us to the first law of thermodynamics, often referred to as the law of conservation of energy. It states that energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can only change form. Think of the universe as a bank that never grants loans. You can move your currency from a savings account to a checking account, converting potential energy into kinetic energy, but you can never withdraw more than the total balance. In the context of a machine, this means the total work output can never exceed the total energy input. This is the you can't win rule of physics. If the first law says you can't win, the second law of thermodynamics is even more demanding. It tells us that in every energy transfer, some energy is inevitably wasted. It usually escapes as heat. Imagine a spinning top. Even in a vacuum, there is friction at the point of contact and internal resistance within the material itself. This energy doesn't disappear. It just becomes disordered and spreads out into the environment where it can no longer be used to do work. This is entropy, the universe's tax on every physical transaction. This is the you can't even break even rule. Despite these laws, the 19th century was a golden age for over-unity scams. In 1812, an inventor named Charles Redheffer claimed to have built a machine that powered itself. It was a complex arrangement of gears and weights that mesmerized the public in Philadelphia. However, a skeptical engineer noticed that the gears were worn in a way that suggested the machine was actually being driven from the outside, not the inside. He discovered a hidden belt leading through a wall to a back room, where an old man was turning a crank while eating a piece of bread. Modern attempts at perpetual motion often swap wooden gears for powerful neodymium magnets. You may have seen videos of magnet motors that appear to spin indefinitely. These devices exploit a phenomenon called magnetic cutting to create the illusion of free energy. In reality, the magnets eventually reach an equilibrium point where the forces balance out, or they rely on the initial energy used to set them in place. Magnets are like springs. They store energy, but they do not create it. Without an external power source, the friction in the bearings will always bring the motion to a halt. The second law is perhaps the most profound constraint in science because it dictates the direction of time. It tells us that heat will always flow from a hot object to a cold object, never the other way around without adding work. To run a machine, you need a temperature difference, a gradient. This is why a steam engine needs a hot boiler and a cool condenser. If everything in a system is the same temperature, no energy can flow, and no work can be done. Even if you have a massive amount of heat, if there is no colder place for it to go, it is useless. In the late 1800s, physicist James Clerk Maxwell proposed a thought experiment to challenge this. He imagined a tiny demon guarding a door between two chambers of gas. The demon would open the door only for fast-moving molecules, eventually separating the hot gas from the cold without doing any work. This would decrease entropy and break the second law. However, later analysis showed that the demon itself would need to consume energy to observe the molecules and store information about them. The act of processing information creates more entropy than the demon saves, reinforcing the law. The implications of these laws extend far beyond small machines. They describe the ultimate fate of everything. Because entropy always increases in a closed system, the universe is slowly moving toward a state of maximum disorder. This is known as the heat death of the universe. Trillions of years from now, all stars will have burnt out, and all heat will be evenly distributed. At that point, the temperature will be uniform everywhere. No more energy can flow, no more work can be performed, and time, for all practical purposes, will lose its meaning. It can feel discouraging to realize that free energy is a physical impossibility. But these laws are not just obstacles. They are the very things that make the universe predictable and stable. They ensure that causes lead to effects and that the past is distinct from the future. The search for a perpetual motion machine is, in a way, a search for a crack in the foundation of reality. While we haven't found one, the quest has taught us everything we know about how energy works, leading us to build the remarkably efficient technologies we have today. So, while we cannot break the laws of thermodynamics, we can master them. We can't get something for nothing, and we can't even break even. But we can learn to use the energy we have with incredible precision. The universe is a cosmic debt collector, and while it never lets us leave without paying the entropy tax, it provides us with a magnificent, if finite, theater in which to exist. Understanding why a machine can't run forever is the first step in appreciating the delicate, temporary beauty of everything that does. Thank you for watching.
If you'd like more videos like this, you can subscribe and come back to Brief Stories anytime.